Jingle Cross Day 3. So, if you watch the other highlight videos, you know that the biggest takeaway, at least from day 1 and day 2, was that at this start, I want to continue to lay on the power and be in a podium position for as long as I possibly can, or be at least up in the mix as long as I can. And so that was the plan today. And basically, I told myself, go as hard as I possibly can and be in that position for as long as I can. And even if I die and I blow up and, end up dropping a ton of spots at the, later in the race, at least I gave it a shot. And I'm just trying to mix stuff up. I'm trying to give it a shot here. So here, 2, 4, 6. 2, 4, 6. I'm 7th wheel here into Mount Crumpet, so I'm still in the mix. But again, like I said in the last 2 days, I'm not the best at this Mount Crumpet. I'm not very good at running. So here you see past lap 3 rider, Cat 3 rider. So there is a Cat 3 field ahead of us. And so it's a little bit more difficult to figure out where I am placement-wise. But that makes it even more important to be up in a position where I'm not too far off the front and I know exactly who's on the front. But that kind of blew up here on Mount Crumpet. This junior kind of passes us, but he looked pretty strong, so I was like, oh shit, I got to follow him. So here I am, still sort of up where I need to be roughly, but still this traffic becomes problematic, especially into the sand. So I was able to keep it up right here up until maybe hitting this spoke. Yeah, I hit this spike here, unfortunately, trying to come out of it. But that traffic also becomes problematic. So even though I did kind of stay in the mix for as long as I could there, unfortunately that's where it ended. So I'm going to keep trying this over and over in my next couple races, and I'm really going to try to, just give it a shot and see if that's how you win races. I'm kind of in that position now where I'm top 10 consistently, but if I really want to be on that podium, I got to be up in the mix early and continue to lay on the hammer. So I was kind of happy how this went. Didn't exactly go to plan. They can't all go to plan, right? But at least I gave that a shot and gave it, all I could. So here we are. In these long sections, like we were saying the last 2 races, I am able to kind of keep down the power and make up some time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. But I never went on this high line. There's a high line and a low line, and you can tell, like, some of these guys on the high line end up doing quite a bit of faster, time on this section. So I probably should have learned that throughout this 3-day series. I'm kind of looking back at these and thinking, why didn't I at least try it? I didn't even pre-ride it. So mistake there. Could have maybe made up some time. Nate here. He's a Wisconsin native. You can tell being in the mix with a group, like I was saying the last couple days, means that it'll help you push yourself a little harder, go into turns a little harder, push yourself to the limit. And I think that's kind of how this went a little bit here early in the race, where I was with some groups. Yes, I wasn't up where I wanted to be in terms of potentially contending a podium, but, whatever. I'm still in the mix here with a group. Mount Crumpet, you can tell I'm losing some positions, but we get back to the sand position, and these guys slow up pretty bit. Go! So I was like kind of pissed because you got to keep your momentum, right? You got to keep your momentum in the sand, and those guys were like braking way too hard. Unfortunately, I think the guy in front of Nate was the guy who was braking, so that made the sand pit a little bit more difficult here. And again, even being in a group was great for like pushing yourself, but can be problematic in certain sections like this where maybe you should try to get in front of that, and so that when you do hit the sand, you're in the front.
No easing up yet, Nate?
So I'm saying, no easing up yet. If we're going to stick with this group, if we're going to be a group, we got to make sure that we lay on the power here, because we want to catch these 3 guys ahead of us, as you can tell up there, 4. I wasn't exactly sure. It was really hard to tell.
Let's go. Let's catch these guys.
So I'm, any group I'm with, I'm saying, like, come on, let's go, let's catch these guys, like giving some encouragement to the guys around me in the group I'm with, so that whatever we do, we end up, trying our best to pull back as many positions as we can. So here we are. I let this guy do quite a bit of work, and I stick on his wheel. So I'm not in no man's land, which is nice. I stick on his wheel, and that means it keeps me motivated, keeps me pushing. It might not have been the fastest pace, but, good job, right? Like, that's what we got to do to make up time, even if he might not have been going maybe as fast as I wanted to go, or maybe he was going as fast as I wanted to go, and that means he was just taking the lead there for quite a bit. So I was pretty happy with how that turned out. But you can tell here, now we're starting to get in the mix with other guys who are catching us. So I think there's like 2 guys here that we're in the group with now, or maybe 3 guys. and the sand is going to become more of a problem, right? So I think what happens here in front of him is that this guy almost falls over, and then he picks up his bike, but he lands over into the barrier. Same with the guy up here, and I was actually able to ride it, so I was pretty happy with how that went, even though that traffic was important to be away from. You know, in the sand, sometimes you get lucky, right? But if you're in front of all of that, then you're going to do better. So here we are, power section again, laying down the power, making up time where I can, because on Mount Crumpet here, you can tell I'm getting past quite a bit. So, you know, look at that. Those guys got a whole bunch of seconds on me, just because I couldn't run on Mount Crumpet. Any suggestions on that beyond practice, or what I should practice, would be pretty helpful for me. I'm not exactly sure what I got to do. So here we are. I had all the time in the world, and I make up a lot of the time back into the sand here, but you know, unfortunately, I catch up a little bit too quickly, and that means I'm stuck in traffic and have to run this. So another example of how traffic in the sand becomes problematic, staying up. So here we are, Mount Crumpet. This was the guy I was sticking with. I was kind of finding my groove, but, you know, he ended up running away from me on Mount Crumpet. So now, again, I'm kind of stuck in no man's land until this guy catches me, the guy from yesterday, day 2. So day 2 comes, you know, if you've seen the day 2 highlight, that guy was unfortunately the guy who slipped out in the finish before we were able to sprint. And you can tell here he's way ahead of me, and I no longer have traffic, and I just absolutely nail this sand. So I make up all that time that I lost on him on Mount Crumpet into the sand here, because I'm able to kind of really nail it. So sand, success, finally. And it helps me make up some time, and it helps me pull him back, again, in sections where I can. So here, I'm kind of in a long section, laid on some power, and here, this kind of became pretty flowy. I was really happy with how I was taking my lines through these corners. It really helped me make up some time, and if you were just smooth and able to pedal through all this, like you can see in this example, it made catching wheels
yesterday, bro.
pretty good. So unfortunately what happened here is I thought we were on the last lap here. The guys immediately behind me into the finish line last lap had been pulled 1 lap early. So I heard the bell after I went past the finish line, and I thought this is going to be a repeat of yesterday where we sprint. So he goes super hard because I told him, like, we're going to sprint here.
Sorry, buddy.
But, and yeah, I apologize here, but they rang the bell for the guys behind us instead of for me. So those guys got pulled after I passed the finish line, and I had a lap to go. So that was really confusing to me, and unfortunately for that guy, he put in a lot of effort there, because I told him it was like last lap and we're gonna sprint. But here you see, man, I am just nailing this long sand section. Here I totally missed my bike. Luckily I didn't. I went off the back and I was able to run down that flyover, but that was almost pretty dangerous. So anyways, that was Jingle Cross Day 3. I love Jingle Cross. This course suits me very well. I was really happy with what I learned, and I think the rest of this Wisconsin Cross Series is going to go very well. Thanks for watching these.